Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. I found my soulmate and it isn't my wife. Best of Reddit Confessions Episode 4. Husbands. I'm the man having fun with your wife. You know that uneasy feeling you get when you see that subtle change in her. She starts spending more time at the gym, doing her makeup or hair a little different, seems a bit happier, and she's spending more and more time out with the girls. That uneasy feeling is me, or someone like me. Let me preface this by saying I know what I'm doing is wrong. I know it has the potential to tear families apart, break hearts and create scars that will last a lifetime. It hurts me. Every single time I do it, it cuts into me deeper than the last. I'm not proud of it, in fact I hide it from everyone in my life, even my closest friends. Which is why it feels good to write this. That's not to say I don't get anything from it, because I do. But first a little context. I'm 28, single, live in a major metropolitan city and have a comfortable life. I have great family and friends, and have no problem meeting unattached women. 3 years ago I met a woman, let's call her Melissa, who was at the tail end of a divorce. We met at the gym and despite a bit of an age gap, we hit it off instantly. She was still living with a guy, a cop, who wasn't quite dangerous but certainly didn't treat her well. She was completely upfront about her situation and said she wasn't really interested in meeting anyone. I told her I understood, that wasn't my angle, truthfully, it wasn't, and that if she ever just wanted to talk and get the perspective of a guy, I'd be happy to listen. She seemed so taken aback that someone wanted to listen, that someone actually cared about how she felt, so grateful for some intimacy even on a platonic level. It just gave me a good feeling to know that maybe I was helping her in some way, at least in my mind. So over the span of a couple days, coffee and talking turns to drinks and laughing. I don't know her well, but I can already see a change in her. Like a weight has been lifted off her shoulders and maybe she just needs a little fun in her life right now. Drinks turn to poor decision making, and as I go to drop her off, the evening ends with Melissa in her garage having the loudest fun I've ever heard. She lived in a high-rise building with underground parking, so husband wasn't likely to stumble on us. After that, our dynamic pretty much turns physical. We have fun everywhere. My place sometimes, her place when her husband is at work, the car, the gym, the beach. Frankly, it's great. It's hot, feels a little dirty and forbidden, and she has fun like she hasn't gotten off in years, which very well could have been true. I think that's about where something clicked for me. I wasn't really meeting women that I could see spending any amount of time with, and with Melissa, I was giving her something that made her feel desired, acknowledged and appreciated. The quid pro quo here, I got great fun and the feeling that maybe I had helped her out a bit. Few weeks later, she tells me that she's going to try and work things out with her husband. I tell her I'm happy for her and I hope it works. We hug goodbye and haven't spoke since. In no way am I suggesting that I had anything to do with her and her husband getting back together, just explaining how it tapered off. Here's where the shameful part begins. Since then, I've actively began seeking out married women. Almost exclusively. I would say at least 50. It's shocking how easy it is. I'm not married, so I don't know much about the intricacies of marital bliss, but I will tell you that there are so many women out there who are angry, hurt, feel unappreciated and unfulfilled. They're everywhere. I've had relationships with married women that I've met at the grocery store, gym, bookstore, malls, restaurants, coffee shops, IKEA, Home Depot. It is just so easy to spot. The prolonged eye contact, ring check, and bashful smile, which is essentially an invitation to come talk to them. So many beautiful women, inside and out, that just get ignored by their husbands. Men, you want some insight into why your wife would cheat on you? The number one complaint that I hear is the man lying in bed next to your wife, he just doesn't listen to me. Women are feeling driven. They need to show affection, both physical and emotional. Perhaps more than anything, they need to feel loved and desired. That doesn't mean with your willy, it means picking up on the subtle cues when they're unhappy or having a bad day. Maybe to a certain extent I am taking advantage of these women or where they are in their life. I used to tell myself that I was balancing it all out by giving them something that they were lacking at home. Whether physical or emotional. Yesterday afternoon something happened that really stung deep. So one of the women I've been seeing lately, let's call her Jessica, is 36, very pretty and sweet, married mother of 3. We met a couple weeks ago at a bar when she was out with some girlfriends. Husbands, another note, out with girlfriends is most likely time your wife is going to be talking to a guy like me. Not saying all women are prone to infidelity, but I've met several women in scenarios like this. Their girlfriends keep their mouths shut. We start talking, Hit it off well, and within 15 minutes she's telling me how tough things are with her husband. This, right here, those words. Having a tough time with my husband spoken to a stranger, it's basically saying, hey, I need a break. Need some excitement. I'm open to sleeping with you. So a few drinks, I walk her to her car, we kiss and trade email addresses. Husbands, all indecent communication takes place on Facebook or via email. No phone. Just saying. Next day I get an email telling how great it was to meet me and asking if I'd like to come to her yoga studio for a class. I accept and class is great. We grab Jamba Juice afterwards, yada, yada, yada. We end up having fun on the floor on a yoga mat. She's awesome. Again, just one of those women that seems like she hasn't been touched or show attention in years. So we've been doing this for a couple weeks now. Same routine, I get a free yoga class and get to have fun with the instructor afterwards. It's actually been great, one of the best relationships like this I've had in a while, and we get along so well. No expectations or innuendos about the future of our relationship, just fun and enjoying each other. Yesterday, same routine. I go to class, and after class we're fooling around. The studio is essentially a big storefront with a small bathroom in the back and shades covering the windows in the front of the room. We typically just lock the front door and have fun on the floor towards the back of the room. So the door is locked. We're 45 minutes in, we have fun together. As she starts to sit up and pull her hair into a ponytail, I literally see the color drain from her face and she immediately starts crying and shaking. I turn my head and there's a guy standing about 6 feet away from us. It's her husband. He let himself in. I get up real quick, I am still not dressed, thinking I'm about to get the shit kicked out of me. The guy is crying hard. Not even looking at me, but instead at his wife, on a yoga mat in the studio he helped build for her. And this, right here, is the absolute lowest moment of my life. I feel like scum. Worse than scum. And I can feel myself start to tear up to thinking about this family that I just rained down dysfunction on. The kids. And it's not like it was some mistake. It was me. I sought this out for my own perverted self-gratifying reasons. I couldn't go have fun with some Trixie at a bar, I had to purposely seek out a married woman. A mother. Now my messed up decisions have caused a family to fall apart. I didn't say a word. Pulled on my shorts, grabbed my clothes and mat and just walked out. They both stayed put and neither looked at me on the way out. The last thing I heard him say was, "I don't understand." So I'm done. I swear. This is my confession and it will serve as a reminder of the pain I've already caused and the potential harm that my own messed up behavior can bring not just to one person, but to a whole family. From the bottom of my heart, to the families that my actions affected, I am so very sorry. I was immature, irresponsible and exploitive. I'm so sorry. I didn't have fun with my Tinder date because of her poor hygiene. I met up with her and she looked nothing like her Tinder profile. The plan was to go to my place and watch a movie. I felt bad so we did that anyway. While she was there we started talking about Tinder. I jokingly pointed out that her photos looked nothing like her. She let me change them to resemble her more. After that we started getting into the hot stuff, which I didn't really want to do, but I haven't had fun in a while so I thought, why not? She took off her pants and I smelled something very weird. I assumed it's something outside so I closed the window. After a few minutes I noticed the smell was coming from her female parts. I quickly looked at my phone and told her I have to get to work. I walked her to her car and ran back home. She messaged me for a couple of weeks after that until I blocked her. I was 19 before I realized that wiping your butt was essential bathroom hygiene. I grew up in a strange home as a child. My father and mother were away on business most of the year and I was raised by a nanny. As I have matured, I've come to find that many lessons most people acquired as toddlers have not been with me, and since I was homeschooled I had few chances to be made aware of some of my quirks. I could not possibly blame this lack of knowledge on my nanny. She was a wonderful, intelligent woman who was always there to help me along, but I have always struggled with attentiveness. Learning the first half of any lesson but unable to concentrate enough to pick up the second half and often forgetting what I already know. I guess, at some point along the line, I just stopped wiping altogether, and throughout the years I forgot that it was even a thing. Often I use the toilet paper to wipe my hands and face, but it never occurred to me to use it on my arse until I had a drunken conversation with an acquaintance and looked deeper into it via Google. Until that point, I just assumed that an itchy, smelly bottom was just a dirty fact of life. I can't wait for my mother-in-law to pass away. She is a witch. She has splintered our family, my in-laws, irreparably. She openly and verbally favors some of her sons and grandkids in front of them. She has custody of 3 of her grandchildren from parental death, and they are ages 15, 12, and 9. Not one of them has learned how to ride a bike, ever had a sleepover, are obese and rarely leaves the house, because of how controlling she is. She has shamed most of her kids, of which there are 7, by using confidences against them, and making up lies about them. She fakes illnesses for attention, and refuses to obey basic hygiene practices. My partner is mentally and emotionally wrecked, devastated, and depressed whenever she comes up. We have an adopted child of a different race, and when we permitted her spending time with them, she would frequently call the child racial epithets when out of our earshot. We were informed of this by another grandchild, and we removed him, never to revisit. She is mentally ill, and a piece of human excrement, and is dragging us all down. I love watching my old classmates get overweight on Facebook. I grew up obese, maxed out at around 290 pounds in high school, but now in my late 20s I am 5 feet 11 inches and 185 pounds give or take. I obviously encountered a lot of bullying growing up, as well as being ostracized socially. I was always the fat kid of any friend group. I didn't excel in my professional life like some of them, I don't take extended trips to exotic foreign countries like some of them do, but at least I learned how to keep my weight in check. And I love watching the people who used to treat me bad get porkier every year. I found my soulmate and it isn't my wife. I was on a trip, it was for work, it doesn't happen a lot, and when it does I never have any thoughts or notions of cheating on my wife. It is just something I don't do. This trip was different. I was on my way back from work to my hotel room and I stopped at the swimming pool bar. There was no intention of getting drunk, nor was there any intention to talk to anyone. A girl close to my age sitting next to me was laughing very loudly about something she was talking to the bartender about. At the bottom of her very loud and contagious laugh there was a snort. I felt a smile creep across my face as I listened to their conversation. I joined in and it doesn't really matter what it was about, a lot of the stuff that happened afterwards was a bit of a blur. I kept drinking and so did she. We started talking about the human condition, among other things such as how the psychology of social interactions can actually have spiritual ramifications. To be honest, I don't get to talk to anyone I know among these levels, including my wife. We had more drinks and I couldn't help but listen to every single word she was saying. I refused to get up and leave, and when she stopped she stared back at me grinning, telling me how happy she is right now. I was feeling the same, I couldn't shake it. I eventually surrendered to the moment and we kissed a lot. I remember stroking her hair and kissing her neck at one point in time. Her fingers on my shoulders, laughing and smiling and enjoying all of the contact we had. In between the jovial we were serious about why everyone is selfish and how we are all doomed to be taken advantage of by someone out to get us, and much further. We must have cried for a good 30 minutes together before we found somewhere else to plant and continue this conversational string. That night she stayed at my hotel room, she slept in her panties and I was in my briefs. We did not have sex but we couldn't let go of each other. I remember every moment we spent together and wish it could have lasted longer. I regret what we did and I feel that emotionally I cheated on my wife, which was worse than anything I could have done with any random one-night stand. I have been able to not think about her, and make it a point not to make any contact in hopes that these feelings subside. F my life. It has been almost 5 months now and I still remember her face, even without looking for her online. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Click the right box for the related playlist. Let us know in the comments what you think about these stories.